The refugee camp was quieter at night, but never silent. Wind whistled through the rusted metal sheets that passed for walls. Children coughed in their sleep. Somewhere in the distance, a generator sputtered before catching again, its hum filling the emptiness. Sergeant Caleb Arden walked through the narrow rows of makeshift shelters with a small lantern in hand. He was on night watch, not that anyone expected trouble. These were survivors, not soldiers. But still, order had to be kept, and safety had to be shown. Most refugees here were alien, fleeing the collapsed war zones along the galactic rim. Humanity had offered sanctuary, though not always with open arms. Many humans whispered that aliens brought sickness, that they couldn't be trusted. Caleb hated that kind of talk. After years in the service, he knew people bled the same way, red, green, or silver. He turned a corner and froze. There was someone huddled near the perimeter fence. A slim figure wrapped tightly in rags, sitting on the ground as if trying to disappear into it. "Hey," Caleb called gently, stepping closer. "You can't sit out here all night. It's too cold." The figure flinched but didn't move. Slowly, it lifted its head. Beneath the hood, two luminous eyes shimmered faintly, alien, but weary, not hostile. I can't go inside," the voice whispered. Feminine. Soft but broken. Caleb crouched, keeping his lantern low so the light wouldn't blind her. "Why not?" The girl shook her head, clutching the fabric around her face tighter. "I'm not clean." His brows drew together. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer, only lowered her gaze. Her whole body trembled beneath the rags. Caleb sighed. "Look, I don't care what you look like under there. You're freezing. You'll get sick if you stay out here. Come to the fire at least. You don't have to talk if you don't want." For a long moment, she didn't move. Then, slowly, she allowed him to help her up. She was lighter than he expected. Too light. Malnourished. He led her back toward the campfires, but even there, she stayed on the edge of the circle, away from the others. Her name was Lyra. He learned that much after coaxing her to sip from a cup of warm broth. She sat with her hood still drawn, voice barely audible over the fire. Her people had lived in one of the outer colonies, a lush planet torn apart by war. Her family had died during the evacuations. She alone had survived. But she never explained what she meant by not clean. At night, when the camp quieted, Caleb found her sitting apart from the others, always wrapped tight in those ragged cloths. He brought her food, water, sometimes just as presents. She barely spoke, yet he could feel her gratitude in the way her luminous eyes lingered on him, soft and questioning. One evening, a storm rolled across the camp. Rain hammered the tin shelters. Refugees huddled close to stay dry. Caleb moved quickly, securing loose tarps, keeping the fires from drowning. When he reached Lyra's corner, he found her soaked, shivering violently, still clutching her rags around herself. "Lyra," he shouted over the rain. "You'll freeze like this." She shook her head, teeth chattering. "I told you. I'm not clean." He knelt, gripping her shoulders firmly. "I don't care what you think you are. You'll die if you don't dry off." Her eyes glistened in the stormlight, filled with fear. "You don't understand. If I show you, you'll hate me." Caleb's chest ached at the raw pain in her voice. "Lyra, nothing you show me will change the fact that you're a person who needs help." Her lips trembled. Then, with shaking hands, she loosened the knot of rags at her throat. The cloth fell. Caleb's heart stopped. Her skin was marked, scorched with jagged burns that stretched from her jaw down her neck and across her collarbones. Glowing veins of bioluminescence traced through the scars, pulsing faintly in the darkness like fractured rivers of light. Parts of her once graceful features were twisted, melted by fire. She closed her eyes, flinching as if expecting him to recoil. "See," she whispered. "I'm ruined. Dirty. Not fit to be seen. That's why they sent me away. That's why no one comes near me." For a long moment, Caleb couldn't breathe. Not from disgust, but from the weight of her pain. The scars were terrible, yes, but what froze him was the thought of how much she must have suffered, alone, believing she was unworthy of compassion. Slowly, carefully, he lifted his hand and touched her cheek, not the unscarred side, but the ruined one. Her eyes shot open in shock. "You're not dirty," he said, voice firm. "These scars don't make you less. They mean you survived." Tears filled her luminous eyes, spilling down her cheeks. Her body trembled, but this time, not from cold. "No one's ever said that to me," she whispered. Caleb's voice broke. Then everyone else was blind. From that night on, Lyra changed. She still wore her cloths in front of the others, but when Caleb came, she let them fall. She spoke more, told him stories of her world before the war, of forests filled with trees that glowed like stars, of rivers that sang when the wind passed over them. Her voice carried both sorrow and wonder, as if she kept those memories alive to survive the darkness. Caleb listened, rapt. He had fought in wars, seen planets burned, comrades buried. But her stories reminded him that beauty existed even in places the galaxy had forgotten. One evening, Lyra asked quietly, "Why are you so kind to me?" He thought for a long moment. "Because once, after my unit was wiped out, I sat in the mud believing I wasn't worth saving either. Someone pulled me up, gave me a reason to keep going. Now it's my turn." Lyra reached across the fire and placed her hand over his. Her fingers were trembling, but her grip was steady. Trouble came weeks later. A small group of human traders arrived, sneering at the refugee camp. One spotted Lyra moving through the shadows, rags pulled tight. He yanked her hood back, exposing her scars. "Look at this freak," he laughed cruelly. "Filthy thing. Should have been left behind." The others jeered. Lyra froze, shame flooding her face. Before she could retreat, Caleb stepped forward, fury in his eyes. He shoved the man back hard. "Don't touch her. She's diseased," the traitor spat. "You protecting that monster?" "She's not a monster," Caleb growled. "She's braver than you'll ever be." The traitor sneered but backed off when others from the camp gathered. Caleb stood firm at Lyra's side until the men left. When the crowd dispersed, Lyra whispered, "You shouldn't have done that. Now they'll hate you too." Caleb turned to her unflinching. "Let them. I'd rather stand with you than with cowards." For the first time, she smiled, truly smiled through the shimmer of tears. Months later, the camp began resettlement. Families were relocated to safer colonies. Caleb received new orders. But when the list was posted, he saw Lyra's name and felt his chest tighten. That night, she came to him by the fire, rags folded neatly in her hands. For the first time, she stood before him without hiding, scars and all, luminous veins glowing softly in the night. "I'm not clean," she whispered again, her voice trembling. "But you made me feel like I could be." Caleb reached for her hands, holding them tightly. "You don't need me to tell you that anymore. You already are." She shook her head, eyes glistening. "I'll never forget you, Caleb Arden.